I'm Don. Today we paint another Printed Obsession miniature. This video shows the painting of the skin while we talk about the sketch and glaze painting method and fat glazes. This video could be one of the most obvious sketch and glaze painting technique that I've done, so watch the video as I turn this Printed Obsession miniature into this. Hi, I'm Don. Welcome to my studio. Aside from my awesome patrons, this channel won't be possible without these crazy awesome brands. Now let's paint. I won't lie here and tell you that skin painting is easy because I used to paint skin like I would paint mecha armor and rely on the airbrush and washes, tons of washes to get decent looking skin. But honestly, when I look at all those older miniatures, they don't look good. They look bad. In this video, you'll see that I painted the skin by a sketch and glaze painting method, which is basically the sketching part is just laying down where you think the shade should go and where the highlight should fall, basically blocking like where you think the colors and the lighting will fall on the miniature. Once you block and like sketch where those colors should be, it's a matter of just refining your painting via fat glazes and some thin glazes, of course. It is important to note though, especially with the painting of the skin, is that I use very fat glazes when I'm doing the sketching, so that I don't have very harsh like transitions in between colors. But you'll also notice that I don't mix too much of the paints, and since I have a lot of paints, to be honest, I just use all of them and instead of mixing on the wet palette. But first, what are fat glazes? Well, basically fat glazes are what I used to call glaze layering or glaring, meaning they're not very thin, they're not very transparent. As you can see in the video, they're semi-opaque, semi-transparent paints. So you create better, smoother transitions with them, but it's still rough. You still have to refine with thinner glazes a bit later in the painting process. You can achieve fat glazes by simply adding more water to your paints. However, I prefer using mediums because I feel that I have a bit more control and that the paints lay down to the surface really nicely without a bit of surface tension, which is added by water. So I like using mediums. With this one, I must admit that I'm cheating because I'm using Cuttlefish Colors, which are pre-glazed paints. So meaning the paints are semi-glazy already. So even without adding Merlin's medium to the paints, they are fat glazes already. So I'm cheating here. Basically, I'm painting in a more efficient manner because this paints kinda matches how I want to paint. If you are using normal paints like Vallejo model colors, game colors, or Citadels, or even Chimera, these paints are most of the time very opaque. You have to add a bit of medium, like roughly around 2 parts paint and 1 part medium. Except for yellows and reds, of course, because those paints are semi-transparent already. So once you add the mediums or water, if you prefer water, then you'll have fat glazes. It is also very important to note that it's easier to do fat glazes with darker colors, medium colors to darker colors. Like you see here later, I'll be using Femme Fatale Violet, which is a very dark purple, red purple color. But If you're glazing with lighter colors like ivory and fairy flesh and even white, you have to thin them down a bit more, or else you're going to produce a chalky finish. Lastly, if you're using a lot of fat glazes, you'll see here I'm doing a fat glaze using the purple color. You have to blend the edges before those fat glazes dry, because you'll have like coffee stains and stuff like that. So you have to blend the edges before they dry, then you'll have a nice smooth finish, or not finish, a nice smooth transition. This part of the video, what you see now is just adding more contrast to the painting of the skin, adding more purple shades and adding more highlights. You could use white. You could stipple white in very small areas of the miniature. You could see I'm doing that here now, so that you have like a shiny look to the skin and it gives you more volume and more contrast. Now you may ask, while you see in the video we're painting the other parts of the model black to create more separation. But again, now you may ask, what colors do I use to glaze? If you want a more medium tone color, then use your toasty skin or orange brown to glaze over the miniature so that you have a more normal looking skin color. If you want the skin to be lighter, then glaze the lighter colors. And if you want it to look darker, just glaze the darker colors. So it's just finding the balance of what you want to achieve in terms of like selecting the color for the finishing touches. Now we're done with the skin painting. The rest of the painting is shown at Patreon as a tutorial. It's a 20-minute tutorial. And also it's time to thank my awesome patrons before I reveal you the finished model. My patrons are awesome. My silver patrons, my bronze patrons, my gold level patrons, which has access to the tutorial videos, and of course my platinum level patrons, which will have access to shorter, more focused tutorials soon, and my palladium level patrons. These people attend my one-on-one workshops every weekend. Now it's time for our golden lemon reveal. Well, for people who are viewing my channel for the first time, golden lemon is like my display-ish painting standard. So this is the golden lemon reveal. As you can see, the painting of the skin is a bit more saturated. It has a bit more interest. I decided to add more purple shades to create like a lighting effect. The light is coming from the front top right of the model. So you see that the highlights are more on the top right of the model. I think I kinda achieve a really nice, like interesting look in terms of just the lighting, and I was able to achieve that by adding more purple shades and adding more highlights on the top right. I hope this video showed you the sketch and glaze technique in a very obvious manner, but I do have a lot more tutorials at Patreon. That's it, Pansit.